What is going on, everybody? Today we are back with a live puzzle solving series where we're facing off against a puzzle that's very highly rated here on chess.com. So this puzzle immediately, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat that it's a pattern I believe that I recognize, where we can take the queen here on d8, king takes d8, and we unleash a double check. And if he goes back to e8, rook to d8 is going to be checkmate. But he is not forced to go to e8 after queen takes, king takes, and then bishop to g5 check. He also can opt to go to c8 or c7. If he goes to c8, rook d8 is no longer a move because of rook takes d8, and his rook is adequately guarding that square. So it looks like kind of a pattern, but that doesn't necessarily 100% resemble that pattern because there are some distinct differences. So let's take a step back here and just analyze this position. We are up a total of 0 points in material. The material is completely even. King safety wise, his king is, I would say, a 4 out of 10 in safety. Is not completely safe because he's not castled, and we have a move that can attract him closer to the center. Our king also isn't super safe, but I would give us maybe like a 5, possibly a 6, because we are castled, but he's got a lot of forces concentrated on this side over here, and we're currently in an open file here on the C file. So other than that, there aren't too many vulnerable pieces, it looks like. This rook is undefended here on b7, and this bishop is undefended on c5. Whereas on our side, everything seems pretty well defended. This rook is currently undefended on h1, but with a move like knight to f3, we can change that. This pawn is also vulnerable to a potential capture by the bishop, but the tempo criticality of this position is probably too high for this bishop takes here to ever really come into effect. So before we consider candidate moves, let's see if we can identify more of the attacks and defenses that are going on in the position. This bishop is also under attack by his knight. Of course, we have this action going on here on the d file, and our bishop can give a double check after a potential queen takes on d8 on either a5 or g5. So those moves should be considered. And this rook, while hanging on h8, is not under attack by anything at the moment. So yeah, let's take a look at candidate moves now. So queen takes d8, I think, is the first candidate move. It's both a capture and it's a check. It's the most forcing move that I can see so far in the position. And after king takes d8, which is the only move, we can check in two different ways. We can check on a5 or we can check on g5 to continue this sequence of forcing moves. And in both of these cases, that would be a double check. The advantage of checking on a5 is that he can't run to this c7 square, but he can run to the e7 square, and vice versa. If we were to check on g5, e7 is no longer available and he can run to c7 instead. Either way, going back to e8 is going to result in an instant checkmate. So he's going to go to c8 or he's going to go to c7 or e7. And because he has these escape squares, I'm going to surmise that it's not a checkmate puzzle. We don't have a forced checkmate. The possibility of a checkmate plays a factor, but it's not a closed deal on that outcome. Instead, we're probably looking at some sort of a move to win material instead. And there's, maybe other things that are possible too out in the fringes of the probability space, but we should keep it in the back of our minds that maybe it's not checkmate and maybe it's not even winning material. So coming back to this variation, let's just look at one possible continuation. Bishop g5 check after the queens are traded off, and he can go to c7. Let's say he does that. What can we do to win material or continue harassing his king in a way that maybe gives us a lot of tempi. Bishop to d8 is not possible because he can just take it with his rook. And we don't have any moves to be able to enter along the d file with our rook because all the squares are adequately guarded. A knight move seems a little bit too slow. And king b1 also seems a little bit too slow. Rook c1 also seems a bit too slow. So it's quite possible that the first move is not actually queen takes d8. It's possible that the first move is maybe a move like queen e4, hitting the rook on b7 and gaining a tempo. And let's say he responds to that with a move like queen to b8. Do we have a move that can follow up to that? Maybe bishop g5 then, to threaten a check on d8 and win material. He can go f6, and we would have to maybe move our bishop out of the way. Bishop to f4, hitting the queen. Let's say he goes to c8, and then I don't see a continuation from there either. Is there like a double attack on this bishop somehow? We can also go to queen f3 to attack the rook, but that looks like it's a very similar outcome. We can throw in this queen attack. This is kind of a crazy thing to consider, but queen takes g5 is with a check, so that looks like it just straight up loses material to not our benefit. So bishop to a5 also loses material right away. Actually, bishop a5, we're threatening a checkmate, so we wouldn't be losing material on d8. He can't take with his knight, but he can take with his queen. And we don't have queen d7 check because of the rook that's guarding that square. But that also looks like it's just losing material without having calculated deeper into that variation. A slow move like knight to f3 would just cause him to possibly be able to trade off the queens here, and after pawn takes, knight to d6, let's say, and our attack looks like it's completely fizzled out. So after analyzing a couple more moves, we're coming back to the idea of queen d8. It just looks so forcing right off the bat. And, we're kind of questioning, is there a reason to maybe give this move a second chance? So after king takes d8, we don't have to give a double check. A double check is a very powerful move that, it's kind of like when you have a straight flush in poker, right? It's like, I feel like I have to bet whenever I have one. But in this case, maybe the move is not to bet. Maybe we should do something else, like just a straight up discover check with bishop b4 or bishop to e3 and hit this vulnerable bishop here on c5. So we have that move, and then he can bring his bishop back to d6 to block the check. So if we go to c5, we have the bishop also hitting d6, and then we can just take the bishop, his knight takes, and then our rook takes, and it looks like we're winning a piece in that variation. So let's take a look at that again. This is the variation that I'm proposing, bishop b4 check. If he blocks with the knight, we just take the bishop. Blocks with the rook, we can take the rook first, his king takes the rook back, and then we take the bishop on c5. So that actually looks quite good now. Let's see if there's anything else he can do. He can move his king out of the way. We take the bishop. So it looks like we have all the variations covered. Let's give it a shot. Bishop to b4 now with a check, and then we just take the bishop. And that's the end of that puzzle. So the key to that was actually parsing through the puzzle as quickly as you can to eliminate all of the variations that aren't good, because it just looks like you have these very powerful moves at your disposal. It looks like a pattern that you've seen before. There was a famous game in the past where a queen was sacrificed on d8, leading to a double check. I don't remember who exactly were the players, but kind of getting through those initial patterns and then yet still committing to the first move in that variation, just not following it up with a double check because there's no forced mate. And then looking to pick up something that's a little bit less valuable, but still enough to lead to a winning position. And just noticing that this bishop here is vulnerable from the beginning was helpful to us as well. So hope you guys have enjoyed the puzzle, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Make sure to reach out to me via email if you would like some additional follow-up where I could give you coaching or a free book that teaches you on the basics of chess. I can coach people up to, I would say, a 1500 rating. That's currently 200 points below my rapid rating on chess.com. So if you're less than 1500 online, I would say maybe less than 1300 over the board, I can help you improve at chess.